goodness, isn't that wonderful? Oh, yes, right there on the ground is perfect. Thank you so much. Oh, did you bring marshmallows? No, the marshmallows are later.
You forgot to tell me.
No, marshmallows are later here. Talk about this. Oh, that's strange.
They're still full. They're stopping. Did you know they'd be stopping?
To talk with. Oh, that's so wonderful.
Oh, my goodness. Here's another thing just all right.
Perhaps they've come to see the woman.
My picture.
Oh, of course, your picture.
My picture. Yes, if you would please, right there. Oh, thank you so much.
Wonderful. I like the one.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming to visit us. My name is Luella Belle Pettigrew. This is my sister Alma Pettigrew.
Charmed.
And my dear friend and sister-in-law, Elizabeth Pittar Pettigrew. We'd like to tell you the stories of our family. Now, we'd like to think the Pettigrews are more than just our brother and her husband, Richard F. Pettigrew, but we'll let you decide that for yourselves. Now, I was born in 1839 in Ludlow, Vermont. I was the third child and second daughter of our parents, Andrew and Hannah Pettigrew. There were 9 children in our family, 4 boys and 5 girls.
Hannah, the eldest, was born in 1836. Justin, first son, was born in 1838. I was the 4th child, born in 1843, and my sister Henrietta was born in 1846.
Yes, my husband Richard, born in 1848, and Frederick, the one closest to Richard, born in 1850.
Yes, and then the youngest were Elizabeth, we called her Lizzie, and Harlan, born in 1855 and 1862, respectively. Now, excepting our sister Hannah, all of us children and mother lived in the Sioux Falls at one time or another, and many of us are laid to rest in this beautiful cemetery that my brother Richard founded. My tombstone's just over there.
Yes, and Alma and I lie in the mausoleum behind us. My husband constructed it. It's recently undergone a rather lovely and, dare I say, necessary renovation.
Well, it's old, dear.
As are you.
That's true. I love it.
Now, Harlan's ashes are also located in this mausoleum. Harlan, the baby of the family. Oh, what a life that young man lived. He was the only member of the family that was born after we moved from Vermont to Wisconsin. Didn't seem able to settle down very well. Now, Mother, Belle, Lizzie, Harlan, and I, we moved to Sioux Falls in 1878. Then Harlan moved to Philadelphia in 1882 to attend pharmacy school. He then returned to Sioux Falls to work with our brother-in-law, Lyman Dunning, Henrietta's husband. Yes. Now, Harlan had 2 wives.
Well, not at the same time.
Oh, no, not at the same time. Oh, dear Jude. Oh, yes. Not at the same time. Oh, I'll do that to you. Now, Harlan lived in St. Paul, Fort Pierre, Point Loma, California, Salt Lake City, and Cedar City, Utah.
Yes.
He was a member of a group called the Theosophical Society.
A repugnant organization that his second wife got him involved in.
Well, don't be unkind. The Theosophical Society is a mystical society.
Cult!
Well, that might be a more appropriate term, dear.
It's the only appropriate term.
Yes. But
Well, I cannot tell you exactly what they believed. It seemed that they borrowed the beliefs and philosophies from many different religions and cultures. Their leader was a woman from Russia. Indeed. Harlan truly believed in this movement. He would lecture at meetings trying to drum up support for the TS, as he called it, wherever he lived. He would also leave literature in the doors of people's houses as he was traveling. I never could understand the allure of theosophy, but he did have some interesting stories.
Oh, but imagine leaving Christianity for a mishmash of soft-headed mysticism.
Well, indeed, but I have to agree with Alma. I mean, Harlan was quite the character when he wasn't trying to lecture you or pressure you into reading some sort of new treatise.
No.
So, our grandfathers fought in the Revolution, you know. We have deep roots in New England. Our father had a store in Ludlow, Vermont when I was a child. Our parents were abolitionists. They felt that slavery was the blight of mankind, which it really was.
Unfortunately, not many of the neighbors believed the same. However, they did believe that slavery was wrong for them, but they didn't want to get involved in the affairs of states that were hundreds or even thousands of miles away. Abolitionism communism was far too radical.
Yes, and the people of Ludlow began to turn on our parents and boycott my father's store.
The dislike for our family was intense. I was too young at the time to understand, but the children of the other families treated us poorly because they knew that their parents wanted us gone.
So we moved. In 1854, Father started a farm outside of Evansville, Wisconsin. Now, he was never the most successful farmer, but he did well enough to send all of his sons and Alma and I to school and marry off our older sister, Hannah.
Thank goodness.
Yes, but our brothers Justin and Richard looked after the farm after Father passed in 1866.
Richard always had fond memories of that farm. He considered it a great foundation for his early success. You see, he started surveying in 1869 while he was studying law. And that's what brought him to Sioux Falls. This area was ripe with potential for a hardworking young man like him, and so he settled here the following spring. Passed the bar in the Dakota Territory. Yes, but work in law was scarce, and so he continued work as a surveyor. Now, that's important, though, because surveying led to a steady stream of cash, and that cash allowed him to speculate on real estate, and real estate is where his early fortune really came from.
Now, Richard got Fred involved in surveying also. Richard was kind-hearted enough to get contracts from the government, and then he would send Fred out to get to do the actual survey, while Richard collected the money.
Yes, well, he always did know how to delegate.
Oh.
Well, Richard was a prominent businessman in Sioux Falls. He founded the Queen Bee. Helped to found the Queen Bee Mill, as well as the stockyard, and several other industries, in addition to his land and law offices. Richard was also an avid politician. Yes. He was a member of the Dakota Territory and a member of the a member of Congress for the Dakota Territories, and he finally served
12 years in the U.S. Senate! Well, it was that success and drive that drew so many of our family to Sioux Falls. Fred was always an enthusiastic supporter of Richard. The pair of them were the main investors in the St. Olaf rolling mill, which our brother Justin managed. Two of our other sisters married friends of Richard.
Lizzie and husband Howard Beebe and their daughter Adelaide lived with Richard. And mother, Luella, and I lived with Richard at times as well.
Yes.
We had such a beautiful home. Perhaps you have seen it.
It was practically a museum. It was.
It's actually Luella who introduced me to Richard. You see, I was born in Geneva, New York, but moved to Chicago with my family. It was there that I met you when I was working as a teacher.
Yes. Bessie seemed a proper lady, and I knew my brother would need a partner if he were to become a great man.
Yes, so we were married in 1879, and I was happy, even if I didn't see him all of the time. He worked a great deal and traveled. We had 2 sons, though, Arthur and Franklin. They were good boys, although they didn't really live up to their father's expectations, and that caused quite the rift between them. Regrettably, I never had any grandchildren. I was sick at the end of my life. I suffered from a blood disease called pernicious anemia. It caused me to be tired and short of breath all of the time. The only cure at that time, or treatment at least, was a huge dose daily of iron in the form of ground liver. It's what led to my death in 1916.
Liver?
Oh, the disease.
Well, yes. It was awful.
Well, I passed in 1912, but I'd rather talk about my life. I never had the desire to marry.
I was also a spinster. I never met the right man.
Never met the wrong one.
No,
I do.
Still thinking about it.
but after I finished my schooling, I joined the Baptist Southern Home Society as a missionary. I worked mostly in the South. It was while I was working there that I discovered the true goal for my life. I was determined to wipe out that scourge that caused so much suffering in the world. Drink. Oh, yes. Alcohol was at the root of so many problems.
It still is.
It still is. So I I moved to Washington, D.C., where I joined the Women's Christian Temperance Union and Anti-Saloon League. I traveled to Europe and all over the world to spread the message of temperance. Well, the WCTU offered to make me the state officer for South Dakota, so I moved back home, where I continued my fight against intoxication and all of the ills that it caused.
And I too was a member of the temperance movement. Your example was of extreme importance to me. You see, my husband tolerated and, dare I say, encouraged my participation in the movement while not being a supporter himself.
No.
Like many of the women in the movement, our husbands didn't mind us trying to better the lot of the common drunkard by forcing him to dry out while still enjoying their liquor. Well, I found it understandable. There were successful men who suffered no ill for their habits.
Oh, Bessie, that is preposterous. Drink is a sin and a failing waiting to strike.
Yes, of course.
Unfortunately, neither of you lived long enough to see prohibition.
Oh, prohibition! Oh!
Yes, the greatest victory for progressive women.
Missed it. Oh, well, one can only do one's best and hope that their life will improve the life of others.
By example.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming to visit us tonight.
Yes,
I hope you've had a pleasant tour.
Let's go look at my picture. Come along. Now we're going to go see my picture. Oh, after we see your picture, where's Bessie? Bessie.